Please remember to subscribe, it helps me out. For faster updates check ko-fi.com/lightnovel.
Extras Death, I Am the Son of Hades Chapter 1-10 Author, Failed Writer 101 TTS by Mr.light. Chapter 1, Prologue. I know I'm going to fuck it. Neo looked at the duck. He skillfully moved his fingers, smashing the buttons on the controller, trying to maintain the lead position in the race. His face contorted. He was first, but he knew he was going to lose. He just knew. I'm definitely going to. The second player, his friend, quickly caught up. Suddenly, the second duck fired a missile and blew his duck. He was not able to dodge it. Fuck. He almost threw the controller, but remembered its cost and, with a frustrated expression, sat down. From the room next door, the irritating laughter echoed. Ha 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 ha. Cut out to this, daddy. Neo's expression worsened. He lost the bet. He would have to pay for the party tonight. The worst part was Francis boasting. The bastard would keep gloating for a week. Stretching his fingers, Neo stood up and patted Klein, the last and the third player of the match, on the back. Guess we will have to split the bill. Yuck. The broken bar. Klein's face was flushed and he was muttering gibberish. Before Neo would get a good look at him, the door opened and Francis entered with a smile. There is no need to be sad, my sons. It's just impossible for a child to defeat his father. The fuck? Just because you won, did you really call your dad your son? Neo retorted. He turned to Klein. Hey, let's go. Klein stood up with a stagger. He kept his head low and dragged his legs with a limp while twisting his arms strangely. Clean a broken bar? Neo asked with a hint of caution. His friend, Klein, was acting strangely. Are you okay? Neo took a step towards Klein when suddenly Klein looked up. His eyes were bright red and the skin on his face was cracked like a broken bar zombie gag. Klein pounced on Neo and tried to bite his neck. By pure reflex, Neo twisted his neck and dodged the attack, but Klein pushed him down and sat on top of him. Gag. The blood-red saliva fell on Neo. Klein would have bit him if Francis did not kick away Klein on time. Fuck is wrong with you, Klein? What are you doing? Francis shouted as he helped Neo to his feet. However, he knew Klein was not himself at the moment. Gragaga. Neo and Francis reacted swiftly when they heard the strange sounds. It was not coming from Klein. Outside, cries of help and strange noises were coming from the hostel's yard. Zombie apocalypse? Neo asked. Stop being a nerd, Neo. That only happens in movies. Tell that to Klein. They're zombified. Klein stood up. His shoulder was dislocated from Francis' kick. However, the injury seemed to not affect Klein at all. We need to run. Neo quickly acted. Although he was not physically gifted like Francis or academically gifted like Klein, he was quick on his feet and actions. He pulled Francis out of the room and locked the door from outside, leaving Klein inside. Their zombified. Klein kept scratching the door, but did not use the knob to open it. It solidified Neo's conjecture of a zombie apocalypse happening. After all, zombies were stupid. What should we do? Francis asked. We need to check the situation outside. If it's really a zombie apocalypse, we need to broken bar. Neo stopped speaking and coughed. His hand was covered in bright red blood. Neo, your face here. Broken bar. He touched his mouth and found his skin falling out like peeled orange. Strangely, he did not feel any pain. Did this happen from Klein's saliva that fell on me? He could not complete his sentence. His vision spun and he lost consciousness. A broken bar. A broken bar. I feel like shit. Neo woke up groggily and rubbed his eyes with a yawn. He felt weird. As he stood up, he realized his point of view was higher, as if he had grown taller. He looked at his arms, only to find them pale white and thin. An ominous sense of unease appeared in Neo's heart. Why was his body feeling so alien to him? He rushed to the bathroom and looked at the face reflected in the mirror. Black hair, sunken cheeks, crimson eyes, sharp jawline, and a face that might have been called handsome if it was not malnourished. Who is this? The boy reflected in the mirror and moved along with him. At that moment, a rush of memories surged inside his head. He recalled the moment of his death. Their zombified Klein, the zombie apocalypse, and the drop of saliva that infected him and killed him by, probably, turning him into a zombie. It was not pleasant. If I died, then where I am? And a broken bar. This body is not mine. Did I transmigrate? Breathing heavily, he returned to his room and sat on the bed. The round trip from the room to the bathroom left him exhausted. Either he was greatly malnourished, or he had a weak constitution. Hopefully, it was not both. In the end, it took him 2 days to accept his transmigration. He died and came to another world. It was unbelievable, but it happened. What am I going to do now? He spoke to himself while munching down on the sandwich. Currently, Neo was living in an apartment alone. How did he know he was living alone? Because there was only one toothbrush, the shoes and clothes were all same sizes, and no one came to the apartment in the last 2 days. Secondly, the body into which he transmigrated was also named Neo. Neo Hargraves. Somewhat rich, because he could afford to rent an apartment alone, no contact from the family, and a student of Demigod Academy. Demigod Academy. Neo opened the academy's acceptance letter he found in the apartment. An academy where the demigods, the ones who possess the blood of gods, train and familiarize themselves with their powers. This world had superpowers and magic. Neo should have been shocked. But his sense of surprise was numbed after witnessing a zombie apocalypse. Demigod Academy. It has the same name as the academy in that novel. Licking his lips, he opened the letter. Since he was accepted in the academy, he also had the blood of a god. But which one? He did not know. According to the letter, he would receive the answer as a revelation after he awakened his god's blood. The academy would help him awaken. Suddenly, he heard a voice inside his head. Ding. Synchronization complete. Synchronization complete. Awakening God's blood. God blood awakened. Registering user a broken bar. User, Neo Hargraves, registered in Akashic record. Neo's eyes widened when he saw the lines appearing in front of his eyes. He tried to touch them, only for his hand to pass through without touching anything. Watching the game-like screen, Neo spoke with trembling lips. Status. A screen appeared before his eyes. Neo Hargraves, rank, mortal, affinity, death, shadow, darkness, void, bloodline, monarch of death, unique skill, death, quest, none. The status screen was the same as in the novel Son of Zeus, the lightning thief. Neo had to accept he was inside the world of the novel. He finally understood why he could not access the internet in the last 2 days. In the world of Son of Zeus, the lightning thief, only demigods who awakened their god blood could use the internet, which was also known as the Akashic record. He opened his smartphone and downloaded the Akashic record internet app. With his device as the receiver, he navigated through the Akashic record. After an hour-long search, he concluded he was in the world of Son of Zeus and not in a world that was similar to it. Wow, fuck. He massaged his forehead. Anyway, what is this monarch of death bloodline? Actually, he knew what it was. And that was the problem. Monarch of death was the name of the bloodline of Hades, one of the 3 great gods. Among the 3 great gods, Zeus, Hades, and Poseidon, only Hades had no children in the novel. Who is Neo Hargraves? Why didn't he appear in the novel? I have the Academy's acceptance letter, so he should have gone to the Academy. But I don't know anything about him. Unable to find any answers at the moment, his focus went to the unique skill. Since I have the bloodline of a great god, the skill should be fairly strong. He checked the skill's description with a grin. Unique skill, death, skill effect, you die. What, a broken bar? It's not your opponents die but you die? I will die if I use the skill. His expression contorted. He finally understood why Neo Hargraves, or any other child of Hades, did not appear in the novel. All of them died after using the unique skill. In this world, one had to train their unique skills to grow stronger and rank up. After training the unique skill to a sufficient level, one could awaken more unique skills. Is this my only hope? Neo's eyes fell to the quest part. Quest section did not exist in the status screen of anyone in the novel. It was probably an advantage unique to Neo. However, there were no quests at the moment. There was no guarantee a quest would help him either. If it did, he did not know how long it would take for the quest to arrive. Neo had to solve the problem himself. I can just give up on growing stronger, but I won't do that. With the bloodline of Hades, I have the potential to become the strongest. Giving up here is stupid. I don't want to live a mediocre life again. Unlike his friends, Neo was not very smart or highly athletic. He had quick thinking, but that was just another way of calling him average. Average. No one wanted to be just mediocre. Neo was the same. I need to train my unique skill to grow stronger. But I don't want to die. The answer to his problem was simple. Resurrection. He had to resurrect himself after he died. Revival is anything but easy. He massaged the back of his neck with one hand and sighed. A man's gotta do what a man's gotta do. He packed his backpack with food items and took the cash, totaling $10,000, he found hidden in the apartment. There were methods that only a reader like him could use. Leaving the apartment, he took a taxi to the nearest market. The ingredients: a broken bar first, I should get the herbs. Lunar flame, starshade, horn. Despite sounding fantasy-esque, they were common herbs in this world. He navigated through the chaotic market and entered the herb shop. The receptionist, a man with a goatee, bulky arms, and the lower half of the goat, turned to him. "Welcome, what can I get you?" "I need lunar flame, starshade, horn. We have them. Please wait for a minute." Neo watched the receptionist cum shopkeeper with mild interest. In this world, everyone had a bloodline, originating from their ancestors who lived in the age of gods. In rare cases, some had parents who were the source of the bloodline themselves. Their parents could be gods or mythical monsters. Neo did not know if he was Hades' son or if he inherited the bloodline from his ancestors who might be Hades' children. "There are the herbs. It's $5,000 for all three," the shopkeeper returned. Neo sucked in a sharp breath after hearing the price. He could have upgraded his gaming setup with so much money. Although it pained him, he brought the herbs. After completing the purchase, he visited a liquor store. The guard at the store's gate stopped him. "You can't enter. We don't allow minors. I'm a student of Demigod Academy." He showed the ID he received along with the Academy's acceptance letter. The guard's face changed from surprise to shock, and finally to awe. He saluted by putting his fist over his chest. "Sir, I apologize for being rude to you." "Don't worry about it." Neo spoke nonchalantly. "So, can I enter the store?" "Yes, sir. We are honored to have a student of the Academy visit our shop." The Demigod Academy was the biggest academy on the continent. Only the genius among the demigods could enter it. A student of the Academy was treated as a celebrity wherever they went. Entering the liquor store, Neo was quickly approached by a staff. "What can we get you, sir?" "Barum liquor." He thought for a bit. "The cheapest one?" The staff took him to a VIP room and told him to wait while they brought the liquor. He entered the room. After a few minutes, a man with golden eyes and star-shaped pupils entered. "This is the Barum liquor you've requested, sir. How much is it?" He took the bottles. One was Braham liquor he requested and the other seemed like a high-quality liquor. "It's free and this is gargoyle liquor, our shop's specialty. It is a gift. There is no need to pay for it." "A broken bar?" "We are honored to have an Academy student visit our shop. It is unthinkable to ask for you to pay us." Watching Neo's unconvinced expression, the man added while rubbing his palms together, "You don't need to pay. But if you like our liquor, we hope you will tell your fellow Academy students about our shop." Neo had underestimated the Demigod Academy's influence. While it was true only genius demigods went there, most of them were rich and had influential connections. Everyone wanted to curry a favor with them. Noticing the free liquor in his hands, he thought back to the herb shop. He should have revealed his identity there too. Thank you. I will remember to tell my friends about your store. It's our pleasure. He left the shop satisfied. I've got the herbs and the liquor. Now the only things left for the revival ritual area broken bar a living sacrifice and divine water. Since he was trying to revive himself, the sacrifice had to be someone who was similar to him. The sacrifice had to be a demigod, with the blood of a powerful god if possible. Divine water was harder to get than a living sacrifice. It was a nationally guarded secret and only the strongest demigods had access to it. Getting it was impossible for normal demigods unless they read the novel like Neo. He checked the map on the Akashic Record internet. Damn it, why is the Yokohama beach so far? Neo took a bullet train. It took him 8 hours to reach the city where the Yokohama beach was located. After getting off on the station, he visited the beach and brought scuba diving gears from a rental shop. Before diving, he took a short break. I feel like shit. He was tired. His body was too weak. Just traveling was enough to make him feel like he ran a 100 km marathon. He wished he could get someone else to bring him the divine water. But the place where he was going to get it was a secret that, if leaked, could start war between nations. Divine water was too precious. Everyone wanted to get it as much of it as possible. Okay, I'm ready. Neo took the boat to the location he remembered. He wore the oxygen mask and dove into the water. The sea was neither cold nor hot. He could see schools of fishes. Some fishes were bright in colors, some had stripes while some were large and moved alone. Since he was near the beach, he reached at the seabed fairly quickly. He began his search for the sea cave. By the time he found the entrance to the sea cave, he felt he was about to die from the exhaustion. After making sure the entrance was not marked, he entered the narrow space in between the coral reefs. It was tight. If he had been a bit less thin, he would have not been able to enter it. Neo arrived inside a water cave. There was air inside the cave, so he removed the respirator and inhaled. The cave was dimly lit thanks to the glowing funguses. It had a small pond in the center. Looks like the mermaids haven't found this place yet. He knew it when he saw the cave's entrance unguarded, but seeing the empty cave confirmed his suspicions. In the novel, this cave would have been found by the Mermaid Kingdom and become a part of their property. He did not know when it was supposed to happen. This place came into play when a villain, gravely injured by the protagonist, came across it by luck, and killed the guard mermaids to use the divine water to heal and strengthen himself. The villain wreaked havoc on the mermaids' country and was later defeated by the protagonist. Due to the incident, the protagonist was able to grow closer to the princess of country of mermaids. Now all of this divine water is mine. Neo did not feel guilty for stealing the divine water. No divine water equals no way for the villain to save himself equals the Mermaid Kingdom is not destroyed. He was solving the problem at its source by taking the divine water. Moved by his own heroic spirit, he poured the Braham liquor into the pond and threw the herbs into it as well. The herbs quickly melted and sweet aroma, containing the liquor's traces, wafted in the cave. He removed his clothes and stepped into the alcohol-flavored pond. The only thing left was a sacrifice. Well, the sacrifice was Neo. The plan was simple. Neo would sacrifice himself to revive himself. It was a loophole in the ritual. But Neo believed he, the son of Hades, the god who ruled over death, should have at least this much leeway. The Grim Reapers would not nitpick. Probably. If it doesn't succeed, I'm dead. He took deep breath to calm himself. Truth be told, he was not using himself as a sacrifice because he did not have a demigod to sacrifice. There was no shortage of bastards who deserved death. However, to increase the chances of the resurrection ritual's success, the sacrifice had to as close as possible, physically, emotionally, and spiritually, to the soul targeted to be revived. Who was the person who was similar to him in appearance, had similar values, and lived a similar life? Neo himself was that person. Hence, sacrificing himself was the best choice. After submerging himself in the pond, Neo had completed all steps. Now, he had to kill himself, negotiate with the Grim Reaper, and return. Here goes nothing. He closed his eyes and activated his unique skill. Death. It was cold. Neo felt he suddenly appeared in a winter region. At the same time, his innards were burning. The waves pulled him along. He opened his eyes when he felt something touch his back and found himself on a beach. The sky was pitch black with 3 gigantic red eyes looking down from high above. The sand was black, sticky, and rancid. The air was hard. Every time he took a breath, it felt like he was pushing solid stones through his lungs. This place was the underworld. The place where the souls came after the death. There was no heaven or hell, just endless pain in this hellish place after one's lifetime came to an end. You are here, O child of Monarch. A grating voice screeched against his eardrums. He saw a figure cloaked in darkness rowing towards him. Its body was hidden in the cloak's darkness. Only the 2 spheres of blue flames were visible, which Neo thought of as its eyes. Come with us, O child of Monarch. We will help you cross the river. The figure raised its hand to bring Neo over when it suddenly stopped. This smell, O child of Monarch, why do you carry the scent of sacrifice? Suddenly its voice turned chaotic, like the screeching of a banshee. Suddenly its voice turned chaotic, like the screeching of a banshee. Who dares treat the child of Monarch in such manner? Do tell me their names. Even if they arrive at the river 10,000 years later, we will remember you, O child of Monarch, and make them pay for what they did to you. The Grim Reaper sounded angry on Neo's behalf. It was a good sign. Hopefully, the Grim Reaper was biased in Neo's favor. No need to worry about. Let's carry on with the ritual. If you wish so, O child of Monarch, we shall begin the ritual. But if you wish for revenge, just say a word. We shall make their deaths painful beyond imagination. The voice reverberated through Neo's spine. Then, in accordance to the promise made 500 years ago, you, who have been sacrificed and carry the aroma of the One, should be taken in exchange for another soul to be revived. However, the exchange must be fair, both souls must be similar, and we do not take any responsibility for the body of the revived soul. If the vessel is damaged, the revived soul would die as soon as it is revived. Do you still wish to carry on with the ritual? Neo nodded. His body was not damaged, so he could be revived as long as he returned quickly. Tell me, who is the soul dost wish to revive? Mine. Suddenly, there was a short moment of silence. Pray tell again? The soul I want to revive is mine. I am the sacrifice too. Is it against the rules? Number. We do not think so. Silence. What are you waiting for? Send me back. Please wait, O child of Monarch. The sheer absurdity of the situation gave the Grim Reaper a pause. This has not happened before. While your words are not against the rules of the promise made 500 years ago, they seem a broken bar wrong. We shall confirm the next step of actions with the monarch, huh? You are going to disturb the great god Hades over such a small matter? Neo quickly spoke up. The great god of Hades, probably, like other gods, saw other humans and his children as nothing more than his subjects. Neo knew he was misusing a loophole in the revival ritual. So broken bar, if the great god Hades knew what he was doing, he would refuse to revive him. Neo had to stop the Grim Reaper from going to the great god Hades. What is your job? To help the souls cross the river? Yes, but that's not all. You are the trusted servant of the great god Hades who was given an important job. If you are going to ask the great god Hades for help in every little matter, what is the point of you being here? You have to make the decisions yourself. This is what you must do. But the current situation is abnormal. It is not a decision we can make by our own choice. Then refer to the manual. A broken bar? The Grim Reaper was confused as to what was the point of Neo's words. However, it listened. Someone like Neo, who carried the blood of death, was naturally above him and, as a trusted servant of Hades, it was natural for the Grim Reaper to treat the kin of his master gracefully. The Grim Reaper's chest swelled with pride when it realized it was Hades' trusted servant. Why do you think there are manuals for everything? I do not know. TCH. Neo's gaze sharpened, which made the Grim Reaper pay attention. Manuals are to teach the newbies what must be done when a certain situation arrives. But we were not given a manual about the promise made 500 years ago. There is a manual. What was the promise? To revive a soul when another soul, covered in the aroma of the One, is sacrificed in an equal exchange. There you go. You have your manual. Use it to see if there is a problem with my revival. Neo asked with a serious expression, am I going to revive a soul? Yes. Am I covered in the aroma of the One? Yes. Is the exchange of souls fair? Yes. So, is there any problem with the ritual's conditions? A broken bar. No, we do not see any problem. Neo quickly hid his smile and opened his mouth. See, I knew there was a reason why the great god Hades chose you as his aide. You are competent at your job. These days people like you are hard to find. The Grim Reaper bobbled its head up and down to nod. His voice grew soft. O child of Monarch, you have taught us much. We thank you for your generosity. Now, let us complete the ritual. A string of smoke came out of the Grim Reaper's hand and enveloped Neo. Neo found it hard to breathe. The smoke entered his orifices and suddenly he gagged. He was back in the water cave. Unique skill X+1, unique skill, death, 1 out of 10. Looking at the screen before his eyes, a smile dawned on his face. He did it. Neo returned from the embrace of death. Now, I just need to do it a few more times. It was going to be a long day. Neo breathed loudly. His chest heaved up and down. Death was exhausting. His fingers twitched uncontrollably and he had trouble moving his body. Damn it, it feels shitty to be revived. After taking a few deep breaths, he was ready to go again. He submerged himself in the pond and activated his skill. Death. The sensation of dying was no longer alien to him. He had the leisure to carefully feel it this time. Previously, he had been too nervous to pay attention to his senses. The gravity disappeared and an instantaneous pull jerked his body. He felt cold and his innards burned. Opening his eyes, he found himself in the underworld. Child of Monarch, why did you return? The Grim Reaper, still at the same place they met last time, asked Neo. Neo patted the sticky grains of sand off his body and stood up. After the last success, he was more confident. I'm here due to the revival ritual. Can you send me back? We can't. A broken bar. The Grim Reaper, unable to understand what was happening, nodded. He believed Neo, inexperienced in the revival ritual, might have mistakenly sacrificed himself again. We will send you back, but please, do not return by mistake again. Death is not a child's toy. The living should not touch it too many times. The Grim Reaper decided to forgive Neo for the mistake. After all, he carried the bloodline of the great god Hades. He was royalty. Then, goodbye, O child of Monarch. We wish you a blessed life. The black clouds rushed out of the Grim Reaper and sent Neo's soul back to his body. Unique skill X+1, unique skill, death, 2 out of 10. He woke up with a groan. The water splashed inside the pond, making him slightly cold. Broken bar. I should finish it quickly or I might catch a cold with this damned weak body. He dived into the pond and used the death skill for the 3rd time. The familiar sensation passed through his body. Again? We hope we are wrong, but, O child of Monarch, are you doing this on purpose? As soon as Neo woke up on the beach, he came to face and angered the Grim Reaper. The flames in the Grim Reaper's eyes flared. Do you dare belittle death? Even if you are the child of Monarch, you are not above death. A chill crawled up Neo's spine. The air turned heavy and it was crushing Neo under its weight. Neo's legs started to shake. His teeth clattered. However, his eyes remained calm. There was not an ounce of fear in them. He stared at the Grim Reaper without backing down. The Grim Reaper calmed down after watching Neo's expression. What is it, O child of Monarch? Do you have something to say? I'm training. Train a broken barring? Neo pursed his lips. Didn't you say it yourself? I'm the child of the great god Hades, the god who rules over death. Buta broken bar. I don't know anything about death. How can the son of the great god Hades don't know about his domain? It's insulting to him. So, I'm trying to learn about death by experiencing it myself." His words pierced the Grim Reaper's heart. The Grim Reaper's body trembled. Just when Neo thought he was going to attack, he got on one knee and bowed. "We apologize for being unable to understand your intentions, O child of Monarch. We are broken by you were looking far ahead, and yet we dared to shout at you. Please, allow us to pay for this unforgivable sin by sacrificing our life." The Grim Reaper raised its arm. A cloud of darkness oozed out and transformed into a pitch-black scythe. The scythe was about to behead the Grim Reaper when Neo spoke. "Stop it." He took a step and stood before the Grim Reaper, looking down at him with his crimson eyes. "You are doing your job. I'm happy you stood up for your principles even if you had to face me, a child of your master." "O child O father," Grim Reaper choked on his words. "O great child of the Monarch, we thank thee for thy generosity." The way the Grim Reaper addressed him changed. It meant he finally accepted Neo as the kin of Hades and a fellow being of death. "Stand up." Neo helped the Grim Reaper to his feet. When he touched its cloak, a chilling cold permeated into his body through his fingers. He barely kept his face straight and managed to not make a fool of himself. "Now, can you send me back?" "We can, but is there a problem?" "No, however, O great child of the Monarch, while you have not broken any rules, you have repeatedly touched death with your soul. If you don't allow your soul to rest, you will lose your emotions and your soul will be corrupted. When that happens, I won't be able to send you back to the realm of living." Neo found it hard to believe the Grim Reaper's words. However, he knew the Grim Reaper had no reason to lie. Besides, Neo had not read the last volume where the gods were introduced, and his knowledge of this world was not omnipotent. He had to be careful. Just now, he had come too close to his true death. The thought of spending an eternity in the underworld sent chills down his spine. Noticing Neo's expressionless face, the Grim Reaper knew he was beginning to change. He was too calm after hearing the devastating news. However, the Grim Reaper did not feel the change was bad. It was a great change in its eye. The son of the great god Hades should have such qualities. He should not fear death and instead unearth the method to control it. Just like Neo. Maybe if it's him, he can accomplish what the other children of the Monarch failed to do. Too many children of Hades had been a failure. If Neo could prove himself worthy, the Grim Reaper thought it would not be bad to invest in him. Thinking so, the Grim Reaper made up its mind. It would help Neo. "O great child of Monarch, you can return to Underworld 3 times again. But after that, you must rest for 3 days at the minimum. We will send you back now. If you wish to continue the training, we will wait for you here. I will do that then." The Grim Reaper returned his soul to the world of living. After coming back, Neo saw the increasing exp. He decided to raise the exp to the limit before he rested as per the Grim Reaper's instruction. A broken bar underworld. When Neo's soul left for the world of living, the 3 gigantic eyes hovering in the air blinked. The darkness of the sky stretched into a thin smile. They had seen it all. From Neo's first appearance in the underworld to his trickery against the Grim Reaper, and his resolve that allowed him to keep training even if he had to kill himself over and over. Death was not simple. Many souls went insane after touching it once. The insanity and fear of death could corrupt all. Yet, Neo was standing tall after touching it twice. He planned to meet death many more times in the future. He had potential to become his successor. The sky continued to smile, amused, as it waited for the future to unfold. A broken bar underwater cave. Aku. Neo shivered from cold. Divine water was supposed to strengthen the body. And, while he could feel his body growing stronger, he was so weak he got cold from staying inside divine water for a few minutes. "I need to do something about this body." Aku. Neo wiped his body with a towel and wore the clothes for a few minutes. He sat on the edge of the divine water pond. Broken bar, it's cold. After a few minutes, he removed his clothes and re-entered the divine water pond. Dying repeatedly was taking a toll on his body and soul. But he could not stop training. This opportunity was a blessing. After all, It was rare to find a vial of divine water even after spending a fortune. Neo was using an entire pond for himself, and he could return after visiting the underworld. In the entire history, there were less than 5 mortals who achieved the same feat. He submerged himself into the pond and activated the skill. There was a sense of weightlessness. His body jerked and he arrived in the underworld. "We shall send you back." Just as he opened his eyes, a cloud of black smokes covered him and he woke up inside the divine water pond. Neo's body was shaking intensely. His teeth clattered and his eyes became bloodshot. He just wanted to stop. However, he hardened his resolve and returned to the underworld. Arriving in the underworld, he noticed his complexion had turned pale white. Just standing straight took a lot out of him. The Grim Reaper silently watched his resolve and sent him back. Blurg, a broken bar waking inside the water cave. Neo puked blood. He fell to his knees. His vision was spinning, and he could not put strength into his limbs. "Don't fall asleep, a broken bar, don't fall asleep, a broken bar." He bit his tongue. Blood trickled down from the corner of his lips. He activated his skill again. "You've performed splendidly, oh great child of the monarch. Please take this as a gift from us." Neo felt cold bones touch his forehead. However, he did not have the energy to lift his head and check what was touching him. Unknown information appeared in his mind. "We eagerly look forward to our next meeting." The black cloud covered his vision. Neo was back to the cave. He tilted his head and saw the pond's boundary. It was only at an arm's length, but the distance seemed as big as a chasm to him. He felt incredibly weak. Aesthesia, broken bar, overdose of divine water, a broken bar, aura, broken bar, soul corruption, a broken bar from underworld. Neo knew his condition was the result of one of the two. His mind was screaming at him to let go and sleep. However, staying inside the divine water pond any longer was dangerous. If he absorbed more divine water, he would explode like an overcharged battery. He tried to swim and get out of the pond. His limbs were as heavy as rocks. While he dragged himself away from the divine water, he failed to notice the blood oozing out of his eyes and mouth. He was about to lose consciousness when he noticed the screen before his eyes. His eyes widened. Slowly, a subdued laugh escaped his lips. Neo could have trained without pushing himself to the limit. However, he did the exact opposite. And a broken bar, unique skill X+4, unique skill, death, 10 out of 10, his hard work was recognized. A broken bar. Neo blacked out. He did not see the screen flashing before his eyes. Unique skill has been mastered, evolution will begin. Unique skill, death has evolved into immortal. His injuries began to heal at a rapid pace. At the same time, he grew thinner. He lost the muscles and the little fat he had on him. After his body devoured the stored energy reserves, it greedily consumed the divine energy in the air. The divine water pond trembled. As if commanded by someone, the pond's water began to turn into mist. It filled the underwater cave with divine energy-rich air. Neo's body used the absorbed energy to heal and strengthen him. He gained stronger muscles, his bones became as hard as steel and his blood gained a slight hue of gold. Rank, Mortal A awakened. Neo stopped consuming the divine energy and the divine water pond returned to its original state. Blissfully unaware of what was happening, he embraced the sleep. Suddenly, voices emerged from the entrance of the water caves. "Is this the right place?" "Yes, I saw the divine water pond here. I hope it's true, princess. If we can find our own divine water source, our country will finally have some leeway." 2 women stepped into the cave. "It's just there." Amelia stopped speaking when she laid her eyes on the boy who was sleeping a broken bar naked, next to the pond. Amelia looked at Clara with a dark expression. "It looks like an intruder. Get ready to fight." Clara mouthed to her. They readied their weapons and approached Neo without making any noise. Clara took the lead. As Amelia's bodyguard, she was one of the strongest demigods in the mermaid country. Just as they were about to reach Neo, he groaned. He shifted his head and looked up. His eyes slowly opened. Reacting swiftly, Clara dashed forward and attempted to apprehend Neo. She was about to strike him when he laid his eyes on her. Suddenly, a terrifying presence descended in the water cave. Clara and Amelia were frozen stiff from fear. The hair on their nape stood and they found themselves lowering their heads, unable to meet Neo's eyes. "Who are you two?" Neo asked as he groggily stood up. He woke up because he smelled the scent of approaching death and found two women in the cave. Both of them were far more beautiful than anyone he had seen in his previous world. The one near him had sea blue hair and held a spear. She wore black tights and a yellow shirt that accented her curves. The woman at the back had silver hair and red eyes. She seemed closer to Neo in age. Her blue shorts and grey tank top highlighted her jade-white skin. She held a bow and had an arrow, made of water, knocked at the bowstring. Neo noticed her gaze directed at his lower half. His brows furrowed. "Stop staring at it." Despite being disoriented and flustered, a calm and impassive voice left his mouth. Although his life was in danger and he just exposed himself to them, compared to the pressure in the underworld, where even breathing was painful, the current situation was lukewarm for him. Sorry, a broken bar. Amelia's face flushed and she lowered her gaze. After wearing his clothes, Neo's vigilance dropped. At the same moment, the terrifying presence disappeared. Clara exhaled in relief. She almost fell to her knees. Unlike Amelia, she was close to Neo and was affected by his presence severely. Who are you?" Clara put strength in her legs and glared at Neo. She was ready to fight him to the bitter end. The presence Neo radiated was of death. It was so thick that Clara and Amelia, who did not have death affinity, could sense it. Even a lich or a necromancer would not have such a thick presence of death. Clara gulped heavily. Her body shivered when she recalled the person who had a similar presence of death. "Why, a broken bar? Have you gone to underworld?" Amelia's eyes widened with horror when she heard Clara. No one could return from the underworld. No one. It was a universally accepted fact. Only the strongest demigods, who were comparable to natural disasters, might be able to achieve it. This meant a broken bar. The boy in front of her was a demigod who had reached the apex. His young appearance was a lie and he was an old monster who had lived for centuries. When Neo did not respond, Clara's suspicion only increased. She was sure Neo was a powerful demigod. Damn it, why is it here? Does the divine water here belong to him? Her thoughts grew chaotic. We tried to attack him, he will definitely kill us. I need to send the princess back at least. Clara shifted her weight and she got into the stance. Just as she was about to attack, Neo spoke. "Amelia de Beaufort and Clara Winterfeld. To what do I owe the pleasure of meeting two high-ranking members of the mermaid country?" While he sounded calm, his thoughts were the exact opposite. Fuck. 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 Why did they have to come today? Neo knew about Amelia and Clara as they were pivotal characters in the novel. He could predict what was going through their head. I'm safe because they think I'm strong. But if they find out the truth, they will kill me to keep the location of Divine Water Pond a secret. Neo was just unawakened. He would be defeated, even if Amelia fought him blindfolded, let alone Clara, who was a powerhouse in the Mermaid Kingdom. He was in deep waters right now. Why are you not answering? Despite his inner turmoil, Neo maintained a calm section aid. Oh, are you surprised by what I did after waking up? I apologize for it. I battling a foe until yesterday and mistook you two for him for a moment. Clara and Amelia felt their throat go dry. If they were surprised when Neo recognized them, they were downright terrified at the moment. They could see the dry blood stuck on Neo's skin and the floor of the water cave. Who could be strong enough to hurt him, a powerful demigod, to this extent? However, they realized another thing. Neo was friendly. It did not seem he had intentions to hurt them. As proof, he could have killed them if he wanted, but they were still alive. This was a chance. I greet the Exalted One. Amelia curtsied. We did not know the Divine Water Pond belonged to you. We shall leave as soon as possible. Clara understood the signal. She bowed and followed Amelia to leave the water cave. They walked with subdued but hurried steps. Wait. Neo suddenly spoke up. Why were you two here? Amelia and Clara felt their hearts stop when Neo called them just as they were about to leave. However, Neo did not have any other choice. They were stronger than him and could kill him. But meeting them here was a chance. For them and for him. Before they could give an excuse, Neo asked, "You wanted the divine water pond?" They tried to hide their thoughts from showing on their face, but Neo could see it fairly easily. The corner of his lips rose. "I can give it to you, but I can give you the divine water pond, but I want something in return." Their expressions underwent quite a few changes when they heard him. Doubt, hope, distrust, a broken bar. Amelia opened her mouth. "Really? We can pay as much money as you want, or not money." The divine water pond had served its need. It could bring Neo fortune if he sold it. But important treasures could not be brought with money. "I want a tremor-ranked magic spell." "What? That a broken bar? That's the inheritance of our royal family. We can't give it to outsiders." Amelia felt torn. She wanted to get the divine water pond, but a tremor-ranked magic spell was too much. Magic spells were divided into 5 ranks: whisper, echo, resonance, reverberation, tremor. The mermaid country had only one tremor-ranked magic spell. It was given to Amelia's ancestor by the great ocean god, Poseidon. The spell was the reason why her ancestors could establish the mermaid country in the harsh seas of Alaspa. Amelia was lost in thoughts when Clara put a hand on her shoulder. The bodyguard looked at her with a deep gaze. A sigh escaped Amelia's lips. She understood what Clara meant. They had no choice but to get the divine water pond. She saw Neo was not going to budge and spoke. "I can't make an important decision like that myself. We can appeal to the Queen, my mother, and I think she will agree to your demand." Her words would have sounded like a lie to anyone. The Queen of the Mermaid Country was called the Tyrant Queen. She was not someone who negotiated and instead took everything from others. While it was true the Tyrant Queen urgently needed divine water in large amounts, she could force Neo to give it to them without any compensation. Amelia did not think such a scenario would come to pass. Neo was strong. Her mother wouldn't be able to use her weapon, the overwhelming strength of hers, to take the divine water pond from Neo. Neo thought about it. He found Amelia's words to be plausible. And although he was not strong, he was sure the Tyrant Queen would not take the divine water pond from him unethically. The reason was related to why she urgently needed the divine water. "I have no problem with it. When can I meet the Queen?" "Right now. Let's go, right now." A small smile appeared on her face. She looked especially beautiful at the moment. The three left the underwater cave after Neo wore the respirator. He couldn't breathe underwater without it. Amelia and Clara found it weird how someone like him had to use oxygen tanks. But they did not point it out. They came out of the underwater cave and Neo noticed a gigantic eastern sea dragon swimming inside the sea. The sea dragon had blue scales. It had a ferocious expression and a powerful aura. All the fishes in the vicinity had disappeared after the dragon's appearance. Noticing Neo's lingering gaze at the sea dragon, Amelia explained, "That's our ride. Only the azure sea dragons can travel in the Alaspa Sea." She could talk underwater without a problem. Clara was the same. Both of them had mermaid bloodline. Underwater seas were their home turf. They swam and positioned themselves above the azure dragon's back. At the moment, a no-water zone appeared at their location. They landed on the dragon's back with their feet. Neo could see that the water was being blocked by an invisible dome, probably an ability of the azure dragon. He could breathe without a problem. They began the journey. The sea animals ran away whenever they sensed the azure dragon. Traveling underwater, Neo felt the journey was no different from an airplane ride with a good view. Neo could see Amelia sneaking glances at him as if she wanted to talk but was afraid to initiate the conversation, and Clara staring at him with furrowed brows. He did not converse with them and instead focused on himself. He had yet to see the changes brought by the evolution of his skill. Status, he thought. Neo Hargraves, rank, grade 5 awakened, divine energy purity, grade 1 awakened, stats. Strength, 18. Speed, 21. Dexterity, 17. Constitution, 12. Luck, 0. Affinity, Death, Shadow, Darkness, Void. Magic spell, Necrotic Touch. Bloodline, Monarch of Death. Unique skill, Death, Immortal Quest, none. His status screen changed after he evolved into an awakened. His stats were on the low end for an awakened, which was understandable since he evolved recently. The luck, however, was quite surprising. He did not know anyone with luck below 1. Neo's divine energy purity was very high. He attributed it to him absorbing a large amount of divine water. The magic spell is the one the Grim Reaper gave me. I wonder what rank it is. Necrotic Touch, rank, Tremor, Mastery, Apprentice, effect, applies death mark to the target through touch. Max stack, 5. Demigods mainly fought with magic spells and used their unique skills as trump cards. To use magic spells, one had to burn their god blood. While the god blood could be naturally restored over time, consuming too much too quickly could kill the demigod due to anemia. Neo was surprised to see the rank of the spell. It seemed the Grim Reaper he met was a higher-ranked personnel. Thinking again, just not any Grim Reaper would have been sent to bring the soul of the bloodline of Hades. Unique skill, Death, Exp, 10 out of 10, skill effect, you die. The death skill had been completely mastered. Thanks to it, Neo gained another skill. He checked the new skill's details with anticipation. It had to be powerful considering how much trouble he had gone through to get it. Unique skill, Immortal, Exp, 0 out of 100, skill effect, you gain an extra life every 24 hours. Max stack, 3, a broken bar? His face contorted. What was this fucking bullshit? The skill was incredibly useful, but, what would he do with so many lives? If an opponent could kill him once, he could kill him twice. Even 3 or 4 times. Damn it. Were all skills from the Monarch of Death bloodline so weak? Calm down. It isn't a powerful skill, however, it's remarkable as a support skill. Besides, time passes slower in the underworld. I can go there to train my magic spells. Neo sighed. It seemed he had to keep dying in the near future. Watching Neo sigh, Clara became more distrustful. She seemed sure of her thoughts. Neo was a broken bar weak. Other than the aura of death, he had nothing on him that made him look strong. The divine energy leaking from his body was incomparably weak and he had poor control over it. Was he bluffing about his strength? No. Did they misunderstand him in the first place? He never said he was a high-ranked demigod, they thought he was one by themselves. If it was true, there was no need to bring him to the mermaid country. Clara looked at her spear. Her fingers twitched. She had only thought about grabbing it when she suddenly noticed Neo staring at her. He shifted his gaze to the spear and scoffed. Did he detect my bloodlust? Clara got more confused. It was clear Neo had a very high affinity with death element, to the point he could detect even the faintest bloodlust directed at him. But his poor divine energy control said he was an awakened demigod at best. What is it? He is strong or is he weak? Clara decided against taking any immediate action. She would watch him for now. The azure dragon reached the Alaspa Sea. Neo gasped inwardly when he saw hundreds of hurricanes, both small and giant, in every direction. The sky was covered with clouds and the undersea was pitch black due to the absence of light. Without the sunlight, one would not know they had entered a hurricane's range unless it was too late. The azure dragon swiftly flew through the gaps of hurricanes. It seemed to know the range and force of the sea devils and managed to navigate like a professional bus driver. The hurricanes disappeared after they traveled for half a day. The clouds parted, the sunlight returned and a shore appeared in the distance. "We are here," Amelia smiled. She commanded the azure dragon to circle the shore and drop them in a secluded region. Neo was breathing heavily when they got off the azure dragon's back. He had dark circles underneath his eyes and his muscles were sore. Riding the azure dragon for a day without rest wrecked his weak constitution. Damn it, why am I so weak after reaching awakened rank? Am I cursed or what? You don't look good, Amelia noticed his condition. Unlike Clara, who stayed quiet, she did not hesitate to speak right now. I know. Neo didn't let his face show the exhaustion. I was using the divine water pond to heal myself. Is this the side effect from your fight? Who was your foe? Are you gathering tremor-ranked magic spells to increase the chances of your victory for the next time? Her rapid-fire questions and sparkling gaze made Neo take a step back. Princess, we should go, Clara interrupted her before she overwhelmed Neo. He looked at her thankfully. They left the shore and came across a carriage hidden next to the giant beach rocks. It was left there for occasions like today. A carriage? They are using carriages when the rest of the world has cars. Damn, am I in boonies or what? Neo thought. He should not have expected much from a country that followed monarchy in this day and age. Amelia climbed the carriage first. After entering, she noticed Neo breathing heavily and unable to move his body much due to soreness. She gave her hand to help him climb. Neo frowned, but he was indeed feeling weak. He was fighting sleep and exhaustion through sheer will. Just when Amelia thought he did not need her help, Neo grabbed her hand and stepped into the carriage. A smile blossomed on her face. Clara took the reins of the carriage and drove. While on the way, Neo decided to take a short nap. He needed to be in his best condition before meeting the Tyrant Queen. Wake up, we are here. A melodious voice woke him up. Neo felt irritated. He had fallen asleep for a few minutes before he was told the time was up. Opening his eyes, he saw Clara at the door and Amelia in front of him. It's already been a few hours. We even delayed our meeting with the Queen to let you rest, Clara explained. Neo did not feel he had slept at all. Maybe the short nap was a bad idea. He exited the carriage and saw an extravagant palace. The Azure Spire Palace stood out as a breathtaking marvel. Its massive structure adorned in rich shades of blue glistened like sapphires under the sun. The rich history and the regal opulence meant to be shown through the palace were clear to Neo. They entered the palace. Are we meeting the Queen immediately? Neo asked. Yes. She is busy with the audience but she has asked to meet you as soon as possible, Amelia answered. While the two conversed, Clara followed Amelia silently like a faithful shadow. They reached the door of the audience chamber. The guard bowed to them and stepped into the hall to announce their arrival. A broken bar the audience hall. The Tyrant Queen, Elizabeth, sat at the throne. Her silver hair cascaded like moonlight, and her crimson eyes, deep and enigmatic, glowed like rubies, exuding an aura of both allure and danger. Her gaze held the coldness of a distant star, yet there was an undeniable charm that drew all eyes to her. On both sides of the audience hall, there were dozens of ministers and citizens. Today's audience had been abruptly halted by the Queen. They did not know what was happening. As they waited, a guard entered the hall. The Princess Amelia de Beaufort is arriving with an esteemed guest. Amelia and Clara stepped inside. Immediately, the eyes of ministers were drawn to the doors, waiting for the esteemed guest, like hawks for prey. It was an open secret that Amelia was looking for a divine water source to save the Queen. However, most of them were against it. So broken bar they had to be vigilant, to know if the esteemed guest was truly capable of saving the Queen. If he was, then he was an enemy. Chapter 10, Private Meeting with the Tyrant Queen. If he was capable of truly saving the Queen, he was an enemy. Perhaps reacting to their hostile aura, an overwhelming presence erupted into the hall through the doors. The audience froze and the Queen watched with interest as a dark-haired youth entered. At a glance, he looked weak, not even able to control the divine energy leaking from his body. However, they could feel the heavy aura of death on him. The guards reacted. Who are you? Apprehend him. They swiftly encircled Neo and pointed their weapons at him. His aura made him look like a monster ready to pounce on them. They mistook him for an intruder. Let him be, the Queen spoke. The ministers wanted to advise the Queen against letting such a dangerous person free. However, they noticed something wrong about her expression. She was a broken bar smiling. Her lips, soft and succulent, were stretched into a small, irresistible smile. A chill went down everyone's back. "It's the sign of the slaughter's arrival," a broken bar someone muttered. The queen maintained her gaze on Neo. Her eyes were glowing and, hovering before Neo, she could see something no one could. Name: Neo Hargraves. Rank: Grade 5 Awakened. Bloodline: Monarch of Death. The audience hall was enveloped in a blanket of silence. It was broken by Neo, who was in a daze. With broken bar he stared at the thick aura of death covering the queen. His strong death affinity allowed him to roughly guess the time of arrival of others' death. Death had touched her already. She was resisting its call through her overwhelming might. "Butte a broken bar, you will die in 3 days." Neo's words brought a catastrophic change to the mood in the audience hall. Some were skeptical of his words. A few looked distraught. Most of them were happy. Amelia grabbed his wrist. What? How can you be so sure? We have the divine water pond. The divine water won't help. You can use it to concoct potions and elixirs, but it's already too late for her. She would die. Just like how she died in the novel. The tyrant queen maintained a calm expression despite the news. Looking at her, no one could guess she was at death's door. "Today's audience is adjourned," the queen spoke. Her smile snapped the people out of their stupor. Thinking carefully, how could an awakened demigod like Neo guess the time of the tyrant queen's death? However, it was weird. The queen was not killing him after his discourteous words. They suddenly had a terrible thought. Was this the queen's plan, to see who supported her death, and she planned to kill those who she deemed guilty? While the ministers were dragging their feet out of the hall, the queen told Clara, "Bring him to my office." She stood up and left. Neo turned to Amelia and saw her staring at the floor with a blank gaze and clenched fists. "Please follow me," Clara spoke. She took Neo to another room. The doors were not as big as the audience hall but equally majestic. "He is here, my queen," Clara spoke after knocking on the door. "Send him in." Entering inside, the first thing Neo noticed was the tyrant queen, Elizabeth. She was preparing tea with a smile. "I never thought I would meet a kin of the great death god, Hades, in my life. A recently awakened demigod at that," she spoke while beckoning him to sit. "Why are you here?" "To sell the divine water pond." He sat on the sofa. His eyes were unconsciously drawn to the potted plants next to the window. "Is this why Amelia brought you here? I have to refuse your offer. I don't need the divine water since I'm going to die either way." As expected, she knew. However, the fact she called Neo to meet her meant he had something she needed. However, a broken bar, she added. "I could think about it if you, the death's inheritor, could save me. I can try, but I need to know what is happening to you." Neo knew why she was about to die. He still needed to hear it from her mouth. Because it would be suspicious if he knew something no one other than the queen did. "I'm cursed." She revealed the answer easily. Neo thought he would have had to bargain more. He faked a thoughtful expression. In truth, there was no need to think. This was the reason why he came here. To collect the hidden piece that allowed the villain to destroy the Mermaid Kingdom single-handedly. The tremor-ranked magic spell he asked for was just a smoke screen. "I can save you. Of course, you must also give me the tremor-ranked magic spell that the princess promised." The vulnerabilities hiding behind her calm expression showed for a split second. But she hid them quickly. She brought the 2 teacups and placed them on the table. As she sat across Neo, she poured tea into the cup. Elizabeth had asked him if he could cure her as he was the blood of death. Never did she imagine he could actually do it. She stopped her arms from trembling and spoke calmly. "If you have this much confidence, you must have something you want from me. Your most prized possession." He smiled. "Give it to me." He couldn't say it outright that he wanted her weapon, the replica of Poseidon's trident. His words, however, were direct enough for her to understand him. "You want the Poseidon?" She stopped speaking and turned to the doors. A playful smile appeared on her face. She spoke loudly as if she wanted the person hiding behind the doors to hear her. "My most prized possession. You want my kingdom? You'll have to marry my daughter for that to happen." "What?" Neo did not understand what she was talking about. Why did she suddenly change the subject from Poseidon's trident to the marriage? Oh dear, I don't mind it since you have a noble bloodline, but I don't want to force my daughter into a political marriage. Not when you are weaker than her. I don't want to marry your daughter. Neo, irritated, decided to answer back. If your kingdom is your most prized possession, I'd rather marry the queen and become the king, instead of being the princess fiancée. Copyright. The queen cupped her face with one hand. My goodness, are you saying you want me? I/N. If you are enjoying the novel, vote with golden tickets and power stones. It helps me, the author, with visibility on the Webnovel app. Over and out. Failed Writer 101.